subscribers, welcome to another episode of Cosmic Conversations. I had the most interesting interview today with an amazing woman. Her name is Nancy Colier, who is a psychotherapist in private practice. She's an ordained interfaith minister, a mindfulness teacher, a relationship coach, author, and blogger. And she wrote this book called The Power of Off. I read this book last night and I was laughing. I was nodding my head in agreement. I couldn't put it down because, in this age of technology where we're all addicted to our phones, this phone, my iPhone, is like an appendage. It never leaves me, and it can be pretty stressful. Nancy says that the average person checks their phone 150 times a day. So anyway, I'm excited for you to watch this interview. It's very informative, insightful, and things that we might be doing that we don't even realize that is really taking a toll on us emotionally, diminishing our relationships, and really messing us up. Some of us even sleeping with our phones. So enjoy this interview with Nancy, and let me know what you think. Okay, you guys, I'm with Nancy Colier. Hey, Nancy.
Hello.
Nancy is the author of the book, The Power of Off, which I loved. I spent all night last night reading this. It's all marked up because it's not a book I would have ever thought to pick up, but it's a book I'm so glad I did because I think it's going to change my life. You talk about how the average person checks their phone about 150 times a day, or every 6 minutes. And when I read that, I was like, oh, that's probably, I'm one of those people. What made you write this book? This is just fabulous.
What I started to see a lot in my office particularly was that people were coming in with an uncanny sense of anxiety, a new level of anxiety. And they were living in this state that I call twired, which is simultaneously tired and wired.
Yeah.
And in this state of kind of constant overwhelm and exhaustion. So when I started to see really the uptick in this state of being, and that something about the way we're living with technology is not in alignment in some way with what we really want from our life. So, I also started to see how in my practice people were bringing their phones in and leaving them on.
Oh, I read that this guy would put two phones, one each arm.
Yeah. That's right. And more common that even in your 1 hour of time to yourself, to finish a thought, to have your own attention, even there we were not allowed to have our own attention. And that this state of uber availability, this state of fight or flight, constant fight or flight, ultimately is not serving us, where people feel depleted emotionally, spiritually, on a relationship front. And so I really wanted to address that, how to get our lives back into alignment, not by doing away with technology, but how do we start being a little bit more conscious about our relationship with technology?
90% of 18 to 29-year-olds sleep with their smartphone, and one of your clients sleeps with her phone and checks it throughout the night whenever she wakes up.
Well, 50% of people, not just millennials, but adults as well, when they wake up in the middle of the night, they check their phone.
Right.
And it's like we're expecting, something from Obama. We're not in these sort of emergency roles.
It is. Well, I started chuckling at this one thing that you wrote. It was in chapter 26, Can You See Me Now? And it says, you say, Facebook post by an intelligent friend. A 50-year-old woman read, up for an early bike ride, now followed up by some fresh fruit and an acai juice. Why do we use our time to report such things? Why is it important that the public know our morning juice ritual? And I just started laughing because I haven't gotten that bad. I'm not reporting what I'm eating or moment by moment things, but I have. I'm a vegan, and there's times I've went out for a vegan pizza and then put the picture, see, you can have pizza when you're vegan, or things like this. But yeah, people will do play-by-plays.
This book was born when I read that post, the one that you just read about from my friend.
Yes.
But it's funny because I had that moment in that, I'll never forget it, where I thought, I have no idea what's going on. I actually, at a fundamental level, don't understand why one would post that to a public audience. Our reason for living is now kind of morphing into the desire to be seen. We have all these people that feel like their lives haven't quite started. They keep waiting for something real to happen because, again, they're not processing their own experience, and they see themselves. This is, Marla, what's even more terrifying. They see themselves as some sort of vacuum, like, oh God, time with just myself. If I'm waiting on a line, I better get on Angry Birds. Or if I've got 3.5 minutes to just myself, it's the feeling that we're not a destination ourselves.
Right.
And that's a recipe for depression. That's a recipe for great anxiety, because ultimately we can't outrun ourselves forever.
And it does feel weird. I find myself, if I'm waiting in line at the post office or something, I've got my Kindle on my iPhone, so I start reading a book or I'll answer some emails. I do feel weird, like, what am I just standing here? I'm wasting time just standing here. And even if we do check our phones at night when the light hits our eyes, doesn't that then the brain, it does something to the brain, you can't fall back asleep, and I found myself, my husband was getting real mad, and I don't blame him, but I would take my phone to bed, but I'd listen to, because he's a musician, he gets home late, so I'll be asleep, he'll come in the bedroom, turn on the TV, so I wake up, so I will put on my pods and listen to podcasts, or some lectures or something, or whatever, and he's like, what are you doing? You're sleeping with your phone, this is insane. I'm like, but I'm listening to podcasts, I'm learning stuff, I'm listening. But it was too much, and lately I've shut the phone off and put it in a drawer at night, because it's like, what is this phone? And he goes, and the radiation coming in the bed. And
well, that too, it's another aspect. But it's also, what you're speaking to is this kind of growing fear we have of silence. Mm-hmm. And that is becoming more and more chronic for people, where, we feel if we don't supplement the moment, we have to be learning, entertaining.
Multitask.
Yes. Otherwise, there's a kind of sense of emptiness.
Yes.
Right? But that ultimately, that silence, the stillness, that experience of just being, not doing, God forbid, not doing, right? In our culture is really, we're being conditioned out of that. And yet, stillness and silence and being is where we find really our refuge, and where we find deep relaxation and kind of recharging of the system. Even computers, they go on break. We need, at a nervous system level, to turn it off. And the only way we get to know the richness and the life that's in stillness and in silence is in taking that leap and seeing what's there if we go there. And less are we really going there.
Yeah, even when I walk my dog around the neighborhood, I'll put on a podcast or something. And sometimes I say, Marla, just listen to the birds. Just walk. Just feel the sun. And then I'll do it for a while. And I'm like, I got to hear this latest thing.
Yeah, and we get addicted. The only difference between this and other addictions really is that we've all drunk the Kool-Aid. We're all in.
Yeah.
This is all the markers of addiction, is that we continue using despite problems in different areas of our life, or we know that there are damaging effects. We keep using. We experience withdrawal symptoms when we try to go off, like anxiety, right? Or we are, more and more, our life is becoming about this, that some part of us wants to cut down and we don't, we can't, we won't, whatever it is. These are signs of addiction. Now, again, this addiction is more like an eating disorder than a drug addiction, because we have to learn how to live with it. But really and truly, we need to look at this just like we look at any other addiction. The thing that makes it so challenging, in part, besides the fact that we've all condoned it, is that it used to be that an addiction, or I shouldn't say it used to be, in other addictions, it makes you an outsider. It cuts you out of society. Mm-hmm. In this one, you're an insider.
Right.
So it gets you membership in the club.
Yeah.
So it's a particularly challenging kind of addiction to address. But I think if we start recognizing it as that, and that within the addiction, there are always going to be the rationalizations. Oh, there's so much, it allows us to learn so much. It allows us to connect with each other. We've got all the rationalizations going. But ultimately, it's not really taking us to a life that's satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, after reading this book, I'm definitely going to be more mindful about being more present with my husband, because I'm always checking, and I just feel embarrassed now about it. I feel really bad that I would give so much attention to that.
But again, this is not about shaming yourself. What it is just noticing that collectively, this addiction is appealing directly to our reptilian brain. Mm-hmm. So there's no shame in this, that we all have this inner kind of 5-year-old that loves pleasure, wants his ice cream and wants it now and is going to eat it until he vomits possibly. That's in each one of us, right? Yeah. Going to lay on the couch all day. We love it, right? But the problem is that this game of technology is the perfect tool, the perfect ally to our inner reptile. So it's acknowledging your humanness and saying, I've been hooked. Mm-hmm. And the brilliant thing, the amazing thing, is when we start to wake up and say, hey, I'm not okay with that. That's our higher self, our more evolved nature, coming in and saying, I got hooked. Who hasn't?
Yeah. Well, I want to bring this up, kind of circle back to, you talk about in chapter 25, branding the self, and when becoming popular is our purpose. I love this sentence that you wrote, this quote: likes are flimsy planks on which to build a house of self-worth and moral structure. So we're going for those likes, like this, how many likes, like my page, like. And the fact about branding the self, so now we feel, and I feel even this pressure and anxiety. I'm an author, besides being a matchmaker, and I've got my YouTube thing. So I feel like, and all you hear about is take this course to get more followers, get your platform, get your this, that, make more money, and you got to get your tribe. And so I'm scrambling. I'm doing my newsletter every week. I'm doing my YouTube videos. I'm doing my blog. Even if I don't feel like it, and if I'm sick that week, I was sick this week, I feel guilty about it. People aren't going to keep up, and it's like this thing we have to do now to be, and I'm like, why do I have to do this? I want to just go in the forest and I don't know. It's like go back in time to when we didn't have to do this. But at the same time, it's given me a way to make money from home, the computer and everything. I don't have to go in and have a boss, drive in traffic in LA. There's this good side and the bad side. But speak to this about branding the self. We all think we have to brand ourselves and get the likes.
Yeah. It's so true. What you describe is so universal. I mean, I really just know that. And, part of what's happening, just before I speak to the branding, is that we are becoming a culture really where we don't believe in thought too much anymore. We don't believe in sort of long range processing, not knowing, really tackling grown-up issues, being in a process that takes time we can see it in our election, we can see it everywhere. And part of what we've switched over to, if you will, is this idea of packaging everything. Packaging. And in this enormously consumer-oriented way that technology is assisting. It's assisting that kind of thinking, that before we even really have a message, we have to have a brand.
Right. You can't get a book deal if you don't have a platform. You can't do this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that, before we allow something to really gestate and become something, it needs to be, it's like we go on this premise that we have a very short attention span. So give me the elevator pitch. It's like, well, wait a minute. I'm not in an elevator. Do you have 3 minutes? Not from 12 to 0, you know? I mean, everybody wants it all boiled down to 1 second, like we're about to drop dead. And the anxiety of that for those of us like you and I is a kind of insatiable monster that it creates. And we never get, of course, to be in the thing we're creating, because it has to be, we're always in the packaging of it. And so I would say we've sort of developed a relationship with ourselves where, again, we're not, like I said before, we're not in the experience of ourselves. We're not living with this question of, well, why would I be, besides making money, why am I continually saying who I am, right? It used to be you loved music, you played in a band, and then organically you were known as a rock and roll guy, or it was through the doing of it. Now we start with it, right? And
what's your tagline? What's your even my website? I have to have Marla Martenson, but then I have to have a love yourself, love your life under it. You got to have, what are you about? What are you? What's your brand? Yeah.
I don't want a tagline, because also one of the things that we're trying to do all the time is we're trying, and this is from a more spiritual context, but we're trying to deny this sort of ephemeral nature of life. You know, we want to capture life. We want to have our tagline. We want to know it. We want to own it. We want to know that it's like every time we go to Martha Stewart, we're going to get that experience. We want that for ourselves. But the truth of the matter is that we are in constant state of flux. Mm-hmm. And we are not the same entity, but technology wants it pinned down and knowable so that, again, nothing is unsure. We're living in the time of the greatest change in the world, and the thing that we're most concerned about is to make it knowable and not changing. So it's a very curious time in that way. And you know, what we're also doing is we're becoming these sort of little heads that walk around totally disembodied.
Right.
So we have no connection with our bodies. And that inner narrator that we all naturally have, like the inner reptile, we have the inner narrator that, you know, we're at a party, as you know, and, oh, this is going really well. I'm really having a good time. You know, we're telling the story of our life to ourselves as we're living, as if we need a narration. Well, now technology is serving as the external version of that. So not just what do I think of me and my thoughts, but what do you think of me and my thought? So I think to be able to resist some of that and ask the question like you're asking, not so much I just want to live in a cave, but really, how do I want to live my life? Do I want to live my life constantly selling my life? Or do I want to actually show up in my life and see organically what wants to sell and what doesn't? Mm-hmm. It's a very different place.
Just being authentic and doing the things you like and having things spring out of it. Because even in your book, you talk about how people, like on Twitter or whatever, will purchase followers. Because sometimes somebody will follow me on Twitter, so then I'll go to their Twitter and look at it and say, 20,000 followers, 40,000. How'd they get that? Who is this person? I'll look at their website and they must have paid for these followers, and then that's how you have to have. And I just have my little 1,400 followers. it's like I'm not going to buy any.
It's insanity, and you know. But at the end of the day, what people are buying into is that your value or your worth. Right. That's the thing. Will increase if you have more likes, or if you communicate with people more often, you'll feel more connected, or if you all these false ideas that, just that your public, if the public knows exactly what you're doing from moment to moment, you'll know yourself, or your life will feel real. Right. None of these things are actually true, but we're buying into them. So the desperation for likes is, well, then I'll feel good about myself. Then I'll have self-worth. But the problem is, it's completely and utterly ephemeral. It has no weight, and you're only as good as your last post. Mm-hmm. You're only as important in this system. So when popularity is your, reason for living, you're in this constant state of chasing that thing that will make you feel whole. And it's not findable outside yourself.
Right.
So it is something to kind of retake the reins there and say, what am I chasing? Some of the mythology of technology, and I feel very optimistic about this, is starting to unravel. in the sense that, it's been sold as this thing that makes us feel more connected. Not really.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, there's a lot of evidence now that the less face-to-face, in-person contact we have, the lonelier we feel. It's supposed to make life easier. My experience, absolutely not. A few things here and there, of course, the GPS, certain things you can do from here, remote.
GPS changed my life.
Me too. Yes, I have no sense of direction.
Me neither. I could walk out my front door and get lost. It's crazy. I mean, pretty bad.
but that sense of, does it really make my life easier? I cannot tell you how many people in my office, what we talk about is the difficulties of their technology, trying to get their software to be compatible with their hardware. She lives on the 37th floor. My Wi-Fi cuts out. This is the stuff that we're having to manage, or the mythology that it makes life freer because you can work remotely. Well, guess what? The phone is the Trojan horse that gets into your house. Then you have to be available. So all of this is starting to break down. And one of the things breaking down, I think, is this chasing of popularity as if it would really make us feel better about ourselves.
Yeah, that's really that chasing popularity. Everybody has to be popular now or a brand now. So it's in a way it's kind of cool because you can maybe get yourself out there. You can self-publish a book now, do a YouTube show or whatever, which is great. But at the same time, there's that pressure. And then talking about, even people bringing their phone to the toilet and the shower. I mean, I never know about the shower. You'd have to have you get a room. But I enjoy, when I go to the gym, I used to enjoy going in the steam room or the hot, whatever that room, the dry sauna, and just kind of relaxing, meditating. I can't anymore because women are in there on their phones. They're in there talking loud on the phones and I just can't even go in. So it's,
disturbing. And that, in a way, is something that our consciousness right now is changing in the sense that basic levels of respect for other people and awareness of other people is diminishing, I would say. Yeah. And that, again, what makes us feel well at the end of the day usually is an act of kindness, usually is something that has to do with our better nature. Yeah. So, again, these two are out of sync. And we're going right now with kind of the candy of choice. We're going with what's fun. We're going with what keeps us distracted and juices our kind of dopamine levels. But at the end of the day, that's not really what is feeding at a deeper nature.
So give us some tips how we can stop this, because you talk about how it's important to be present in our bodies. Even if you talk about maybe you're sitting in a park and it's beautiful and there's birds chirping, but if you're thinking of something else, you're not really even there enjoying that. Or if you're sitting in the park and you're on your phone, you're not enjoying that. So you also talk about a morning practice. So give us a couple tips we can do to start unraveling a little bit.
So one of the things you want to start by doing is just noticing, like building an inner colander, which is just to notice how many times in a day or in an hour or a minute that thought appears. I could check. I could shop for chandeliers right now, even though I don't need a chandelier. I could, whatever it is. And to notice that thought without necessarily indulging it, without necessarily, because you have the thought doesn't mean you have to act on its behalf. So the first thing is to just bring some awareness, and maybe you ask yourself after you start to notice, is this a habit? Am I just having this thought out of habit? Is this really something I need to do for work? Is this something that what is it, right? So we have a moment, a little pause there before we indulge it. And then you might ask yourself, what would I have to feel if I didn't use in this moment? Mm-hmm. What would I have to feel? What's here that I'm wanting to get away from, right? So we start with little practices like that throughout the day. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to pull apart the thought from the behavior, right? So we start to empower ourselves to have a little more control of our lives, right? That we're not just being dragged around by our habits. The second piece is to start to implement some basic, very small changes in our behavior. Maybe we don't put the phone down on the table when we're meeting with a friend, right? Maybe when we're eating, we just put the phone away and taste food. Maybe when we're waking up in the morning, the first half hour of the day, we don't use, or the hour of the day.
Yeah, I lay in bed before I get out of bed, and I check all my emails, and I delete the ones I don't need, the junk, this and that. So I'm kind of got a jump start on it, and I'm already. But that's not. I should get up and meditate first, or stretch, or walk the dog. I should
have
not.
Something, yes, that puts you in your body first. So the reason that I say, and then the third piece, and then I'll address the morning practice. So in the detox that I offer, there's some very specific small behaviors that we just start adding day by day by day. And of course, behaviors don't change, even in 30 days. They change, but these are habits. These are really strong habits, and again, they're condoned. It's not like if you're getting off, alcohol, you can stop hanging out with your bar friends. Right. We don't have that option anymore. Yeah. There are no So after the detox is done, you pick some of these and you keep practicing them, whichever are the ones that feel to you most powerful. And the third piece of the changes that we can make, the detox, is, and it's a life detox. It's not just 30 days and then we go back on, but is to start to be very conscious about and name what kind of life do we want to live.
Yeah.
Then we need.
You froze.
To us?
You froze. Okay, let's see.
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back. You're a little grainy, but you're back. Okay.
So the third part is in really owning the choices that we're making on a day-by-day basis. Where we bring our attention and where we bring our time is what we're saying matters to us. So to take ownership of that and to make choices that are in line with that. Yeah. Because a life of meaning, a life that you can feel proud of, a life that's really authentic is not going to happen by following our inner reptile. It's just not going to happen.
I agree.
Yeah.
So
that more practice, it's just
the morning practice. Morning practice.
Some form of body, whether it's a meditation, some kind of yoga, some kind of something. It really doesn't matter, although I'm a big believer in taking that 10 minutes or that 15 minutes to sit down in silence with yourself. I think the courage to do that, what it does is it anchors our whole day. And no matter what the craziness of life delivers, we have that place in us that had the courage to be still, to turn away the distractions, turn away the motion, the everything, the noise of society. And that starts to become a really strong, solid, confident building place in us, for lack of a better word, that we can always go to when life feels too chaotic.
Right.
And I say do it in the morning because life as it happens in a day, often something will bump it out of the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Then you're doing this, that, and then by the end of the day, it's like, I'm too tired to sit there. And so maybe just to center for 10 minutes and state your intention for the day. And, I'm going to be sometimes I'll do that. I'll say, I'm going to have angelic help to match my clients. Bring me the right women to match my clients with. I got to set that intention, and then things flow a little better when you're kind of grounded and centered.
Yeah, and also, what, that's so true. And just to say, what word do I want to live my life by today? Kindness, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Warmth, connection. But also the other thing I would really want your listeners to know is that this is not about establishing a sense of calm. It's not about being a better, more spiritual person. When we go to sit down in silence, really and truly, the only thing we're looking with is curiosity and non-judgment.
Mm-hmm.
We're looking to take a snapshot of what's it like inside us right now.
Mm-hmm.
What is the inner weather like? What you find is irrelevant. The fact is the looking. So I think a lot of people bounce out of meditation or these sort of practices because they feel immediately a failure. They feel immediately, I'm supposed to be spiritual or calm. No such thing. It's just taking the time and the courage to look.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wonderful. So we have to end this with, since I'm a matchmaker, dating
Yes.
and technology. So how to navigate it and how not to. I think I've seen possible great matches blow up because too much texting, or a guy tried to be funny on a text and made a joke and she was insulted and then they never met, or breaking up on a text, or all this stuff. How does technology, what can we do to, just give us a little insight here. Because even me as a matchmaker, a professional, sometimes I'm at a loss. I just don't know what to do, because sometimes, for instance, a guy can't just pick up a phone anymore and call a woman, because if she doesn't recognize the phone number, she won't pick up. It'll go to voicemail, and then she won't even listen to that voicemail because she'll forget it's there or doesn't recognize the number. So then he tells me, I'm like, oh, did you connect with Jane? Well, I left her a voice message on Tuesday, and then it's Saturday. I haven't heard back. Well, now I tell them, okay, call them, but text them and let them know you called, and then text them to set up a call.
Right.
So it's like,
Yes. Yes. It's so true. It's really changing the whole dating landscape, and you must be going wild with it.
Yeah, I've got to facilitate just a phone call, like help them, get on that call.
Yeah. What I encourage my clients to do, and when I write about relationships, I really acknowledge them when they're meeting, whether they're meeting online or they're meeting through someone like with your services, to let that be a great inventory, we appreciate technology, that it provides inventory, provides a sense of possibility, and use it for that. It's fantastic. But right away to make an agreement, if you will, with a new relationship or somebody that you're trying, that you're not going to use text as your primary form of communication. So you trade phone numbers if this is somebody that you want to hear from, that we really do this mindfully. Texting is a death knell for beginning relationships, not only for some of the reasons that are obvious, but also because we create a kind of false intimacy.
Yeah. That,
we're super fabulous on text. We've got banter going. We can, of course, drop out of the conversation whenever we are out of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But then our real relationship has to play emotional catch-up. And it often doesn't survive that, because we've created these kind of avatars that are in a relationship with each other. But in real life, as you know, relationships are bumpy. They're awkward, and getting to know somebody takes a tremendous amount of work and effort. And so when we go right into the texting, again, we're trying to skip that difficult part, and it can't be skipped. It just can't be skipped. So we make an agreement with our new partner that we're going to phone, email. Email is still better than texting, and even best, stop by their house.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Let's go crazy and be cave-like. So that's the first thing that I would say. And also that when we're giving somebody a new try and we feel a little bit of interest, right, we're not surfing. We're not, succumbing to this cultural sense of what else you got, what else, what's better. That there's so much now pressure. We never really settle in and give someone a try because of this chronic sense that, well, there's so much possibility, there's got to be something better. Even if anything isn't perfect. So really see if in yourself you can give that person your full attention. Some people I've heard clients talk about their date is surfing online sites while on the date,
Oh my
right?
gosh. Then they saw that by accident. They saw what they're
Yeah,
doing, or, oh,
yeah. Or if not that, they're coming home and immediately, of course, the cruelty of technology, you can see right away they're back on the site. They're back on. So,
yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Or
So
you
when
see
you're getting,
their status on Facebook, are they still, or whatever. Or the bad thing too is I I have to write up some rules and tell people, to the guys, do not ask the women for more pictures. That's something they'll do. Oh, hey, send me some more, send me some pics of yourself. Send me, and then people will send horrible selfies, and then the guy says, "Oh, I don't want to meet her. She's not attractive, but it was just a bad selfie." And that, and then, yeah, that's probably really screws things
that's
up, asking for pictures. And I say, people feel like a piece of meat, because I've already sent pictures.
horrifying. It's hard. It's again this sort of the materializing, the objectifying, not just of our professions, but of our very being,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I would also say that don't post anything on social media about the relationship, and don't post anything on social media that you wouldn't want that person to see.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Be mindful of this sort of private space that you're building. That's part of what's going away with all of this technology, is this understanding between private and public.
Mm-hmm.
So really try and be respectful, even if it's just for you
Yeah.
to act, on a higher level. Don't post on social media until you have some agreement with this person about what's happening here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Facebook, it's funny because people will, I'll try match them. I don't give last names, but boy, they're good detectives, because they'll find them on Facebook and say, "Oh, she's got so many pictures of herself in a bikini." I mean, a lot of these women, even women, pushing 50, they'll be, all cleavage shots and selfies with the lips pushed out, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And then if a girl will see a man and all his friends are beautiful women, that's all he's got on there. Oh, he's a player. I mean, we're making judgments all the time, and I don't understand the women, maybe a last grasp at youth and trying to show you're still sexy, but I see a lot of the middle-aged women in scantily clad stuff with the duck lips pushed out,
Bizarre. And you see that also, Marla, you see that, it's shocking to me, in 12 and 13-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
You see these girls, and I don't know who their parents are, but they're already doing all of that body stuff.
Yeah.
And again, this sort of over marketing of the appearance and the sexualization,
Mm-hmm.
and because it's possible.
And then I'll see the comments. I mean, the picture that looks so ridiculous, like embarrassing, comments, "Oh, beautiful, wow, you're great, you're fantastic, oh, love the photo, you're gorgeous." And I'm like, "What do you mean? What are you talking about? What are you doing?" I want to say, "You look like a duck. Why are you posting this?" I just don't comment. I just don't comment.
Heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And so much value right now. Look, the people that we idealize right now are the 16-year-olds who can, I don't know, do a split on Vine, or can wear a funny hat on Instagram. This is what we put up at the pinnacle of our sort of human respect, right? So, everything right now is about the way it looks, the packaging of it, the this and the that. So it's a kind of a strange distortion, ageism, all this sort of stuff of what we're valuing.
Yeah.
So these women are really just falling prey to that, and it's heartbreaking.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you something. This really has made me I'm going to change some things, and thank you for writing this. And you guys, let us know in the comments, are you addicted to your phone? Are you addicted to being popular, branding yourself? What have you found? What do you like about it? What do you hate about it? What are you going to change? There's so much to talk about here. So thank you, Nancy, for stopping by, and see you, everybody. See you on Facebook, everybody.